This is the e-learning rockstar stage, and we are very excited to have Mike Hruska from Problem Solutions. If you haven't, I'll read the official thing that he wrote up, and then we'll get to the good stuff, the real stuff. Mike is a former researcher from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and was doing technology development and tech transfer related work there. Mike has a passion for looking at complex problems and creating solutions for them that have never been built before. He lives at the intersection of technology and learning, and together with his team brought the idea for the Experience API to life and worked with government and industry for over 9 years to make it happen. What that doesn't say is if you've never talked to Mike, you really need to. He is an amazing person in the industry of just finding the most creative solutions to different problems. You found that you can save a lot of time in your conversations with Mike if you stop asking him, hey, is it possible to solve this problem? And just say, hey, Mike, I need a solution to this problem. Can you figure it out? Because the answer is always, yeah, it's possible. Just let me chew on it for a little bit. He's also a talented musician. He's a talented magician. And if you're lucky, he'll put the two of those together for you. So without further ado, please put your hands together for Mike Hruska.
Can you hear me okay? All right, thanks. That was a wonderful introduction. Totally appreciate that. You guys enjoying the lunch? Is it good? I didn't get any, so if you have leftovers, I'm going to gladly take them. That's good. Yeah, I love this space between the intersection of ed and technology and other things. So today we're going to talk about learning ecosystems. I know it's something everybody talks about. I want to kind of like level set some ideas with you and talk about some things that are really hard. We're going to talk a little about the Experience API, but this isn't an xApi technical thing. There's a lot of resources that are out there, and if you want to talk about it, I'm glad to do a deep dive with you. But before we get started, does everyone have a piece of paper? Anybody have some paper? You got paper. If you don't have paper and you're beside someone that does have paper, you're going to want to partner with them. But if you're holding your lunch, you don't have to participate in this first activity, but I'm going to warn you, there is a prize. So you're going to win something, and it's totally awesome. There are two phases. You only win in the second phase of the game. So first phase, I want you to stand up if you can. Awesome. And I want you to use your outside voices. And I want you to count from 1 to 10, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, as fast as you can, as loud as you want to. I don't really care. There are no rules here at this stage. That's why I call it the rockstar stage. And then I want you to sit back down after you say the word 10. Are the instructions clear? Fair for everybody? And then maybe people in the front, maybe turn around and see if someone beats you or not. So I'll say 1, 2, 3, then go. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Mr. Alex Walker, congratulations. You won nothing except the opportunity for me to call you out that you're drinking a beer. Oh, there's beer in that Coke. That's Coke Classic, maybe. That's what it is. Awesome. So this time, you can sit and do this, and I want you to take a piece of paper, and I want you to take the words that represent the numbers 1 through 10, and I want you to put those words in alphabetical order. So I'll give you a hint. The first word is 8, and you can start anytime you want. I'm not going to count you in. When you think you have the answer, raise your hand. So 8 is the first word, and then order the others in alphabetical order. Oh, by the way, you're going to win something amazing. This is a guy he's the reason that I'm here in this industry, and this is a great book, and it will help you rethink some things, or even if you've read it before, you should read it again, because it's awesome and amazing, and I think we're all here because of him in some ways. So I'm looking for an answer. Get these words in alphabetical order. 8 is the first one. 5 is the second one. She's Googling it. Yeah. Someone raise the hand. You got your hand up? Let's see what you got. Come on, Miranda. Come on up to the stage. Miranda's got it here. So for those of you, it's 8, 5, 4, 9, 1, 7, 6, 10, 3, 2. Let's give Miranda a round of applause. Congratulations. Now go back and hang out. Good job. So what's hard about that? Why does that hurt your head? Kirsty? You're eating chips. That's why I'm asking the question.
Because you're used to thinking of the numbers as symbols as opposed to as words, and so you have to rethink of the way that they appear and then reorganize them. So they go from one order that you know to another one that you don't know.
Yeah, that's really well said. Alexander, you're sitting in the front row. Add to that.
That was very well said.
That was awesome. Exactly what I'm looking for. Look, we use numbers every day. We use words every day. We use letters every day. It's just thinking about things in terms of something that we know in a different way. And so that's kind of a metaphor for what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about why and how for learning ecosystems. First, I want to talk about the why. Has anyone ever read this book, What Technology Wants by Kevin Kelly, the co-founder of Wired Magazine? It's awesome. In the book, he says that technology is another animal kingdom that has its own evolution and eventualities. And if we listen to what technology wants, we can expand our individual potential. What is all the technology around us doing in the world? You're hiding. Sorry? Changing daily. It's moving really fast, really, really fast. There's something magical that's happening, though. It's finding a cool way to connect us better and together in some ways. If we look at business models of people like these, this is all about connecting us for a journey, for a big journey that we're on, whether we're staying somewhere or getting something in some ways. It's like a routing system for many things in our lives. There's this idea of an ecosystem. I'll let you read the slide, but I think everyone knows what natural ecosystems are. And there are a lot of things that we can learn from natural ecosystems. We're going to talk about that. Because I know we all talk about learning ecosystems, but I want to level set a few concepts, and then we're going to build on those. Whoops, did you get your picture? I think these slides are going to be available. Is that right, EOB guys? Yeah, awesome. So what's a learning ecosystem? Tell me one thing that you know about a learning ecosystem. I can't see your name. Jane.
It's interconnected, large.
Interconnected and large.
Yeah, that's that.
And Julie, tell me one thing about a learning ecosystem.
I have no.
That's totally fine. That's a good answer. Travis?
Complicated.
It's complicated. I'm going to pay you that $1 I promised you for saying that. So learning ecosystem is a place where systems and processes and tools and technologies support people along a pathway for development. I like that. I've been working on taking things from other people, like a good musician takes riffs to build on that. It's something where the technologies work in concert to help people along their journey. It's just in time, it's right time experiences, it's support along the way. And this idea of the learning ecosystem and this metaphor for learning should be like GPS, knows where I'm at, knows where I'm going, gets me there the best way possible. It's awesome, and it's simple, but it's really hard to do. So I'm going to help to try to unpack some of these things with you today, and then give you a tool and some ideas that will help you get the lasso around the dragon that we call this learning ecosystem. There's crazy stuff going on in the world, though. We got to zoom out and think about the context. 45% of all jobs are going to be gone because of some disruptive technologies. These things are not just changing the landscape around us, they're changing the landscape for things that are available for us in learning to think about as well. Crazy stuff's happening. Anybody using wearables for learning? I'm looking for a volunteer. No. Interesting stuff there. We could talk offline about that. Here's another thing. This is a crazy core vector that's happening. We have this millennial generation that's here. Some of us might be part of it. In 2020, 1 in 3 people in America will be millennials. Stephanie, how many people by 2025 will be in the workforce that are millennials?
1 in 3?
No, that's the population. I'll let you cheat. 75% of the workforce will be millennials. Mega trend of disruptive technologies, mega trend of changing user needs and demands. And what do millennials want? They want awesome, just in time, right time, all kinds of stuff. It's crazy. There's weird stuff going on. And we have all these other things, experience and process and performance and design approaches and technology that's shifting really rapidly. So the dragon's getting bigger for us all. It's an ugly, ugly word cloud. I mean, but what are we really trying to do? We're trying to harness the energy of our people and our organizations. In order to harness that energy, we need data. So 2007, we went to the folks at the Department of Defense, at the Advanced Distributed Learning, and said, there's a bunch of data exhaust. We're losing a ton of valuable information. SCORM was a great idea, but it's overly complex, and we need a simple way to collect that data. So we've been working with them and with industry and other partners internationally to develop the Experience API, and I'll tell you more about that. The idea is we just want to get you from point A to point B. And we want to be able to do that along pathways that build knowledge, skills, abilities, drive those towards behaviors, get you into jobs, but ultimately we want to show organizational value. So we need to be able to track that associated with key performance indicators and process and business outcomes, because at the end of the day, you want your boss to high five you because you increased your stock price, your value, your market share, all of those things. I know everyone's worried about just doing what you're doing now, but if you can find a way to be more relevant in your organization and expand the conversation across your group, it's going to be magic. But we're all running into the wall. It's a huge obstacle, and some of us are banging our head against it. That's why my head looks like this right now. We know about these things. We know that adaptive learning is something that's interesting, and it works. I've done some research with adaptive learning and showed that adapting learning for individuals and groups gets groups to task 40% faster with 60% less content. That's pretty valuable from an ROI standpoint. We know that experiential learning is good, but how do we do it? How do we track it? And we know that there's this beautiful thing, the meme of the 70-20-10, but how do you pull it off? How do you make it easy and use technology to do it and not Excel? When we're bringing learners onto our organization, they're leaving one side of one glacial element and trying to get to the other. They want to make it to the other side. Nobody wants to fall and no one wants to fail, but attrition and onboarding are challenged in every organization. So how do we help people across that? That's a valuable learner journey that we want to think about. We also want to think about the high-value learner journeys in our organization. First-time managers, high potential identification, technical product training, leadership, executive development. These are the things I want you to start to think about. What is the valuable learning journey that really matters in your organization? What's one journey that if you could change that journey would give your organization a real advantage, increase efficiency, and make your boss high five you? I can't see your name tag, Jenny. Is it Jenny? Jennifer. How's the brownie? I'm going to get one after. I hope there's some available. I'll take crumbs if not. So what's your most valuable learner journey in your organization you think that would make your boss high five you if you fixed it, made it better, made it awesome?
More interactivity in our education.
Getting people engaged. Anyone see Penn and Teller while they're here in Vegas? Awesome show. You're not missing a thing. You're hyper engaged the whole time. So how do you make your learning magical? You can't make it like Penn and Teller, but what can you learn from those guys that are out there? You're hiding your name tag because you don't want me to talk to you. I get it. It's totally fine. What's one learner journey that you think would be awesome if you could make it better?
Reduce the time to train bank examiners from 4 years to 2 years.
Cutting the time to train bank examiners from 4 years to 2 years. That would be awesome if you could do that. 45% are retiring in 5 years. So you have a big looming problem out there for you. So two big questions that are really important that I think are relevant to everyone. One is, how do we save time and money training people, getting people to the same place that we're getting them now? Can we be more efficient at that? The flip side of that question is, how do we increase the training effectiveness by using the data that's there? So spend the same time, spend the same money, get a better result in some ways. And I think those are relevant to everybody. Once again, hitting a brick wall, because there's something that's looming out there. So one thing that I really like is this quote from Einstein, which to me says if we want to do differently, we need to think differently about the things that we're doing. And people's biggest problem is really articulating what the problem is. That's sometimes the biggest challenge that we face. So I'm going to have my info here at the end. I do not have it listed, but if you do email me, I have a problem articulation tool with 100 questions to help you articulate a problem really well. It's magical, and it will really help you be the best problem solver in your organization. Here's the problem, part of the problem. We used to just think of the LMS, and then we got other things. And then we started to get emerging technologies and online, social, mobile, integrated personal technology and measurement. Wow. And guess what? Each of those bubbles are growing too. And it would be really cool if they fit together in a puzzle, wouldn't it? They kind of do. So we've been working with the e-learning brothers and a number of other people in industry to curate this model for what are the elements in my learning ecosystem? What are all the things I could possibly do? What are the things I'm doing now? And what are the things that would add a lot of business value in the world that I'm looking at? This is wicked. Good news. There are more things that are growing in this area. Bad news, there are a lot of them, and they're happening really quickly. And a lot of them are here, but a lot of them are emerging in someone's idea in a basement somewhere, and they're getting VC funding, and they're going to make that next game-changing technology. Where does it fit? Some organizations move at different speed. So you guys know the Advanced Distributed Learning Initiative. One of my friends that I played guitar with since I was 10 years old was one of the early authors of the SCORM. And when we went to ADL, after they had worked that out and got it required by something called DODI 1322.26, which says if you're buying learning, thou shalt be SCORM. Fine idea, but really that was the catalyst for the $5 billion learning management system market and the mega e-learning market that's out there. So Experience API comes along, and now we have a new way to capture data. It doesn't replace SCORM, but it could in some ways. 3 weeks ago, on a Thursday, the DODI was signed by the Secretary of Defense, now requiring Experience API or SCORM or Experience API and SCORM. What does that mean? It means a lot more people are going to be investing a lot more money, and that learning ecosystem element stuff that we looked at, the thing's going to get so big it's not going to fit on the screen. That's great. You're going to have a lot more choices for technology, and those things are going to be able to talk to each other. But how are you going to put that together in a meaningful way that's going to add business value? Here's the deal. You never needed xApi to do any of the stuff that I'm talking about. It was just inordinately complex and really expensive to pull off. So the things that you can do with your learning ecosystem, you could have done before, but they would have been really hard and they would have been really expensive, and you would have done a lot of work to augment the technologies that you would be using inside of your organization. Now you're going to be able to buy stuff that's off the shelf and plug and play those things together. xApi data could come from any kind of device. It could come from a system. It could come from simulators. It can come from observer-based assessment, anything that you want. And like I said, I'm glad to do a deeper technical dive about that stuff, but we're not going to cover too much of that here. So how do you build a learning ecosystem? So in order to build it, we first need to dream about it, and we need to think about it. So I want to share with you a tool that we've developed. It's not a lightsaber, but you need a guide. And the guide for you is design thinking. We've taken some tools from design thinking that we use to design learning ecosystems, and we've adapted them to help you better get this lasso around the dragon. But a couple concepts first. Ecosystems have some elements in them. They're actors that interact with each other and resources. There are events that happen of interest. There are signals, and this is the thing we really want to center in on when you're thinking about your learning ecosystem. There are sensors, and those are the elements of the technology there. And xApi is the thing that standardizes the sensor information for you in those products. Most importantly, we're interested in flows of data and understanding the patterns associated with that. I'm going to let you digest this for a second, but I worked with Phil Antonelli. Phil was at Xerox before and Conduent. This idea of a learning ecosystem is really big. We've got business strategy that you can't see at the bottom, but that's what underlies it all. If you unpack that, that's technology, it's people, it's measurement analytics, it's process, and it's content. And it's all these things interacting in some ways. This is ridiculously complex. And if you try to have this conversation with your organization, it's going to be a complex and long conversation that could last a really long time. We want to find a way to accelerate that conversation and help you put a lens here that you can start to focus on to reduce this complexity. So here's the how. Everybody wants to move, and I love this. One of my graphic artist friends introduced me to this. You don't have a budget for what you want to do, but you want to do something great, and you'd really like to do it fast. And at the middle of good, fast, and cheap is the impossible utopia. But I'm going to give you a way, a sword, a lightsaber, if you will, and a little bit of a guide to break through that impossible utopia. Because this learning ecosystem is a dragon, and it's growing, and it's breathing fire. And if you can lasso the dragon, then you can yield the power of the dragon to really change your competitive advantage. So this is called the Learning Ecosystem Canvas. I'm going to put some links up at the end. This is a tool that is built on the business model canvas. Has anyone ever heard of the business model canvas? So business model canvas is a design thinking tool that a guy named Alexander Osterwalder built that allows businesses to evolve their business model without having to write a big business plan. He essentially figured out that there's 9 elements associated with the business model. If you think about them well enough and you evolve them on one piece of paper, then you can quickly capture and iterate that business model. We've adapted the business model canvas, and it's available via Creative Commons. You can use this however you want, improve upon it, tell me how you did it, and I'll share it with others, so that we can understand things like, what value proposition are we offering? What's the relationship that we're trying to develop around that value proposition? What are the different types of learner segments and learner journeys that are interesting to us in some ways? How will we reach people today, tomorrow? And then how will we know that we're actually delivering the value proposition? Is it attrition? Is it satisfaction? Is it NPS? Is it business process? What are the ways that we'll measure it to actually know that we're delivering that value? And then who are the people in our neighborhood? Who are our partners that we're working with internally and externally to deliver the value proposition? What are we doing? What do we want to do? And what do we know that we want to do that we haven't done yet, that we might need to find a partner for? And then what are the things that are driving the investment behind this? It's a wonderful tool for you to take to work with your team and get at least the rope out and halfway around the dragon in some ways. There's a number on the tool when you download it. There's a number of elicitation questions that you can start the conversation with your team. These things will drive a lot of value. I'm going to show you a link at the end, an article about this that explains how to use it and its function and utility as well. Here's an example. This is scrubbed, hopefully, so there's no proprietary data in here. This is an output from about a 90-minute workshop that we did with some things removed from it. This team at the end said, wow, I can actually see what we're trying to do. I can actually understand how each of us plays a role in this. I can see that, the potential and the future for what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And I know where I fit in. I know what I need to do, and I know when I need to do it and how I need to do it. Once you capture something like this, you can start to connect the dots, and then you can start to define what are your pilots, what are your early wins, what are the things that you can actually pull off that will demonstrate value and help you to get more budget to do these types of things inside your organization. And then, when you get that, you can start to map out what are the technologies, because we know the channels, current channels, future channels. We know the delivery that we're trying to get to people. We know some of the technologies that we have in play and some of the technologies that we want to put into play at the same time. So some key questions, and these are things that I think are really important that we want to ask ourselves as designers of learning ecosystems. Is this person ready to do their job or not? They're up for a task or up for a job. Are they ready? And how do we know that they're ready? Well, because you're going to be collecting awesome data in your awesome learning ecosystem once you kill the dragon. What, if not, what do they need to be ready to actually do that job? What's that learning path or that gap closure or that deficiency gap plan? The other thing you want to know, and this starts to get to some bigger, interesting questions, is this group of people ready to do the job? It might be a new department. It might be a cohort coming in for onboarding in some ways. It's very important to know this, obviously, for your organization, but being able to have this data and have it in a singular spot would be pretty magical. And then who are my rock stars? And what do those guys eat for breakfast? Because you want to know who those best people are at any given thing in the organization. You're not going to be able to clone them, at least with any technology here, but you could approximate the development of other people using the information about their development plan and other data that you might collect along the way. And then the big question, what works and what doesn't work? Are we actually providing effective training? Does it translate into performance in some ways? Business drivers, and this is key because without budget, you can't do a lot of stuff. So these are the wins for you. So if you do these types of things, you're going to get you could potentially get faster onboarding times. You could get better, faster development of people at a lower cost, or better, faster development at the same cost. We can find more opportunities to make pushes to people to upskill them. We're looking at first-time managers. There's a lot of opportunity for failure, which means there's a lot of opportunity for success. So you could pull off things like that. And a lot of organizations are interested in hypos. So how do we get those people, find them earlier, develop them, connect them in meaningful ways to their peers? technical and product knowledge are something that's really important to a lot of folks. And getting people up to speed faster on that improves sales efficiency and potential outcomes in that world. And last is leader development. Every organization faces at least 3 of these in some ways, and I think many of us face all of these. So the question is, how do you lasso that dragon so that you can yield its power to pull this off? And then, of course, the high-value learning journeys, those mountain climbing experiences, to getting people to the peak of performance, building your self-actualizing team along the way. So how do you do it? You've got to develop a business case and metrics. I think you know this, but I'm going to explicate it for you nonetheless. Second, use the canvas. Do a ton of workshops with people to help accelerate this. And if you want to find out more about those, go to the ELB booth. I'm going to be hanging out over there. We do 90 minutes online with virtual teams for free for you. We'll help you get the rope out and get that thing around the dragon. I encourage you to think about that. But there are a lot of other design thinking tools. If you want to know about some of the other tools we use, shoot me an email. I can point you in 5 different directions for awesome stuff that works and starts to slay the dragon. You're going to need a technology strategy and roadmap, and L&D is a great person to help in that, but you're going to need other people across your organization, CIO, CTO office, and other offices to help be project sponsors with you. You're going to need to roll out some technology, potentially, or change some of the technology that you have in order to start creating this data and consuming this data in meaningful ways. You're going to need a really good experience design approach. I don't know where he is. Marty Rosenheck did an experience design workshop yesterday. For anyone that was in there, it was probably awesome. You're going to need to think a little bit differently about it, because what you're really trying to create are instrumented digital learning experiences. And those instrumented digital learning experiences are going to help you understand knowledge and skill acquisition and help create a better picture of progress along the way to performance and to business outcomes, and rolling up the chain to those higher level metrics that are going to make your organization more relevant within your organization. And last, you really want to be able to connect to KPIs and business metrics. If you want to get the boss high five, you got to do this, because everything else is nice to have, and this is a must-have for them. It's going to get you the promotion, it's going to get you the high five, it's going to get you the budget, it's going to get you all that stuff. Might even get you flowers. Well, you're hiding your name again. You're hiding your name again. See, she put a sticker over top of it. I see. Hi, Alice. I have a ton of industry articles that are here in different magazines and other places about ecosystems and GPS and xApi and what's going on in the community. There's some cool stuff that someone wrote in TechCrunch magazine about how LinkedIn should change their world and use the experience graph and xApi instead of the resume. We've got a bunch of stuff here. If for some reason you don't get a picture or you don't download the slides, I'll have my information. Feel free to contact me. I'm glad to share these with you. I also have a ton of research. Been very fortunate to have the Army Research Lab fund me for about 4 years to work out really hard problems on adaptive learning and intelligent tutoring and other types of wicked problems that we have some really cool technology and papers. I have a whole zip file of these papers, so you don't need to do anything except shoot me an email and I'll give you the zip file. And then if you want to find out more, there's some great adopter sites out there from ADL. There's a ton of open source stuff, and you can find out a lot there. The community's kind of continuing to grow in many ways. I'll let you take your picture. You got it? She said yes. That's good. Here's my contact information. This is one that you want to grab here, because at the bottom I got a link for Learning Solutions articles. I've got the Learning Ecosystem Canvas article that's there, and then the download link for the Learning Ecosystem Canvas tool. And that's all I have for you. Thank you for your participation. Let's hear it for our winner over there again. Thank you. She was pushing up the ceiling. That's awesome. That's great. I think I have time maybe for a couple questions if there's anything that you want. And then I'm going to head over there to the booth and wear my orange shirt with all the other guys with orange shirts on and hang out there. So I'm glad to dialogue. Any big questions? Thank you so much. Have a great day.